So, as you know, those of you who live in the Bay Area or in Cali, um, this information is about a San Jose police officer who was found dead in his home about a month ago in Milpitas. And they just did a big, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they just did a big and elaborate, they buried him with honors, so on and so forth. Well, it has just come out that he died from fentanyl overdose. And now, with everything that happened, with everything that's going on in the world with fentanyl, this is the lesson here that it doesn't just affect the homeless people, doesn't affect people who got, it doesn't matter what your economic background is. This is a guy who graduated from San Jose State, was a star football athlete. For all intent and purposes, I don't know all the details because this is just telling it to you as it's coming out. And, you know, um, it also turns out that there might be some other officers that he was involved with that were in a prostitution ring, involved with gangs, drug dealing, and fentanyl use, as well as distribution. So, with everything that's going on, for those of you who live in the San Jose area, I haven't been there in years, but this information is good information. It came from an inside source, and uh, the city, from what I understand, also Flacco, that the city council was aware of that. And the big thing with people that were telling me is they don't know how this has been at least a month that it hasn't leaked out till now.
Yeah, I seen. Okay, look, I've seen a real quick spill on it. They addressed it in the news about 3 hours ago, but not the part where they're going to be exposing these officers who were involved in illicit activities, almost like a gang, from what you were
Right.
telling me. So
Yeah,
they've already
exactly.
exposed that fentanyl was in the system. That's been proved. The night before, he was at a party with fellow officers. That's a biggie right there. So
That's a
I
biggie.
mean,
He
you can
didn't,
sit there.
and for what I understand, one of the only jobs in the world, right, where if you don't show up, someone's going to go to your house, and that's when
Yeah,
they found him. So I don't know if I don't want to speculate, smut anybody up. I don't know if there was a cover up. I just think that things take time. Excuse me, and with the COVID restrictions and stuff like that, probably autopsies and tests. But there, you can better believe an officer's death, and I believe he was just in his late 20s, and he was only on the force for a couple of years at this time.
yeah,
So he was fairly new, fairly impressionable. And San Jose, as you know, is a big department, much like here in Phoenix, much like in Texas, and so on and so forth. It's a big metropolitan city. It's the third largest city in California, and it's in the top 10 as far as the United States goes. So to sit here, to have this information now about a drug that's running rampant, more than heroin, right? And now how it affects all walks of life. It doesn't matter your color, creed, religion, sexual preference, none of that stuff. You start dancing with the devil, and things like this are going to happen. You know what I mean? So more details are probably going to come out. Like I said, it's hitting all over the news right now. But I
we're
just
giving them a,
figured that,
we're giving them a little insight into the additional stuff that the media is not putting out now.
yeah, exactly. You know what I
And
mean?
so
So
there's also issues with the Santa Clara County Sheriff, right? That you've been hearing?
yeah, Santa Clara County Sheriff, I believe that she's going to step down with all the corruption that's been going on the last year within the jail system. All everybody knows, it's been keeping up with the current events about all the stuff that's going on. The San Jose mayor has asked for her to resign. And it's just been kind of quiet. But from my understanding and from what people are telling me that are close to the situation or that know, is that she's not going to run for the seventh time. You know what I mean? And that's probably because she's still, charges are still, they don't have everything that they need. So she's going to do the right thing. Like most people in high positions are going to resign so they can hold on to some of their benefits and a retirement and stuff like that
The pension.
until, right.
So,
Hmm.
but this case has to do with the SJPD, then, right?
This has to do with San Jose PD and the officer that was found dead in his home. Well, I believe it was in Milpitas about a month ago, and they buried him with honors. And you know, um,
So we can't speculate yet early if this was him basically partying, using, or if it was a foul play. We don't know yet, right?
right.
Um,
All the
so, but
information. That's all the information. This isn't. We're not making this stuff up. Like Flacco said, there's been tidbits of things about it happening with an officer, but this right now, it's gonna break sometime tonight, if not tomorrow, and I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of a lot of investigation, if not from their own department. But stuff like this, I don't know how they do their R&I, but I believe when it's if
Well,
there's other officers that are involved in this corruption that are tied to him,
the,
then it's
the, pro-
probably going to be internal affairs.
the reason why we're able to bring a story, right, a lot of times before even the news media outlets, like Operation Quiet Storm, we dropped it a day before the news media outlets is. And a lot of times because these news media outlets are plugged in with the politicians, with the police department, with the mayor's office, and so forth. So they want to spin the narrative a certain way, place blame, because they know they can't keep everything under wraps. It eventually has to come out. So they prepare and plan what they want to say. So if they can get away with, say, the minimal information, they're going to get away with it. And so sometimes, like, they vaguely put this out a couple hours ago about fentanyl was found in his system. Nothing else is being put out there because they probably figure, okay, if we put this out here, it gives us time to look into this. It also gives them time to corroborate information. So, but in general, I don't trust the media because they propagate a lot of falsified information. A lot of times it's embellished to spin a narrative one way or the other, and they prepare and wait in how they want to present it. So when you guys get stuff from us, it doesn't mean that this is all like 100% factual, but it's been said. You know what I mean? Toko has his own sources of people he talks to, and this came from inside, basically inside information that's of someone that's really tapped in. So we don't believe that this information is going to be false, but how it's going to be presented in the media is going to be two different stories. So.
Yeah, exactly, because they got to do damage control, especially you bury an officer that's involved in illicit activities and stuff like that, and then the other thing that I just came upon as well is the officer that was in question who died with fentanyl in the system. About a week or two later, his mother was arrested for elder abuse at her job. You know what I mean? So that, I don't know if that's going to come into play, but there's just it's starting to form a dark cloud over everything that happened.
Well, it seems like they're trying to raise doubt or question now. At first, they wanted to bury him with. How would you not know within a month what was in the system? Why would it take that long for it to come out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the people and the people that I talked to as well is that the city council knew about this too, and how did it not leak out until now?
So you guys
I don't know exactly because
So you guys out there in the voting world, out there in Santa Clara County, man, San Jose City Council has known about this for a minute, man. Hold your elected officials accountable for their actions, man, all the time. If they're doing stuff like this, that's really deviant behavior, where they're hiding stuff and they're trying to conceal it and trying to get ahead of the story, man, hold these cats accountable, man, because this shit happens way too much, man. This is why I hate politics, bro.
Yeah. And it's like anything else, you understand, especially from the backgrounds that we come from, you protect your own, but at the same time, though, if your own is wrong, you hold them accountable, and I'm not saying that, there's just it's all got to be just, and it's all got to be legal. And those that are involved, especially in this day and age with the microscope under law enforcement, you can't push a narrative and enforce law if your own backyard isn't clean. Now, this is not to bash police, because we need the police. It's not to bash, anybody that's involved in law enforcement, not at all. It's just a simple fact is that this fentanyl is the reason why we're dropping it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's breaking news and stuff like that, but Flacco does a lot of this stuff. This is what this channel, Real Talk with Flacco, is all about. It's it's not always about the prison life and about stories and things like that. Yeah, they're fun, they're cute, and it gives you a narrative of Flacco, who he is, who I am, Rojo, so on and so forth. But these are things that are happening on in the real world, and I'm sure everybody now, just like back in the 90s with KJ and when methamphetamines was hitting, one in every family is affected. I know it's affected me. It's affected Flacco. It's affected my ex-fiance. She became a drug addict. And now with this fentanyl use, this younger generation, and if you have kids, if you have people that are in their 20s and stuff like that, this is the new fad. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate. And in this thing right here, man, it's not a monkey, it's a gorilla on your back. You know what I mean? And
I could see the cops though, man, or them not trying to put this information out there yet because they want to investigate it too. But they probably already knew this stuff. A lot of times they know stuff and they turn a cheek, bro. They hear rumblings, they hear all that, and their internal affairs division starts to investigate stuff, and it depends who's involved, man. Like, how big was this alleged, basically, officer gang that they had?
It was it's, I don't know, I don't want to say it's huge, but there's a certain group of officers that are under suspicion and that they're looking at right now. You know what I mean? And that was told to me as far as what they're looking at them for is fentanyl, drug dealing, prostitution, their involvement with gangs and corruption, and the list goes on and on and on. You know
So
what I
so
mean?
what gangs are they being alleged affiliated with? Are they affiliated with like Norteños, the black gangs, or you know what I'm saying?
That information I didn't come up on, but that's when I got this information about the reasons behind the officer's death. They also, they also threw that out there, and I was like, wow, you know what I mean? And one, and he looking like that maybe possibly he's tied with that, or maybe he got the fentanyl from these guys. Who knows? You know what I mean? But
Well, he was at a party with him the night before. That's
yeah,
a fact. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And then he's found
Yeah.
dead the next
So,
day. So I mean,
well, and then, like you
and they
said,
don't
to
know.
all the grumblings, there's some truth, right? So
Yeah.
how did they come upon this information that you got a group of officers that are involved in prostitution, gangs, and so on and so forth? Somebody had to say something, or somebody's probably already being questioned, or the rumblings within that big department. I'm sure other people were approached. You know how it is. You want to recruit, you want to get people involved, make side money, or just abuse of power. Who knows? You know what I mean? But
See, the
it's going
first
to be
time though, I
interesting.
mean, you had the the gang of officers out there in Oakland. Remember that, the Rough Riders? You know what I'm saying? They were doing their thing out there. They were shaking people down. They were victimizing people. You got the
Yeah,
stuff out there going on in the sheriff's department in LA. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't the first time that these groups have been involved in illicit activities. Look at Fresno a couple of years ago. I think it was either I don't know, it was a high-ranking individual who was involved in drug dealing. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
That was a couple of years ago, maybe a lieutenant or a captain, right? Um, then there was that other officer that was shaking down drug dealers, robbing them, and he was fucking using the product. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like we say over and over again, we're not anti-law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Except for when we were criminals, we were. That's
yeah,
just a fact. Okay, I'm not
yeah,
anti-law enforcement. I get it. We need what you call rules of conduct, which are laws. But just like the prison politics, when those laws are being applied, it's all about who's applying them. You know what I'm saying? Same thing it happens with law enforcement. So you bestow these individuals a position of authority to uphold the law on the streets, and they misapply it. They abuse it. They go renegade. They become banditos, basically, just like behind the walls. And they thrive upon the people's sweat and blood. That's what they're doing out there in the streets. They're supposed to be upholding the law, and instead, they're finding ways to exploit it for their own benefit.
yeah. It's a shame, you know what I mean? And that's the one thing, San Jose Police Department. When I was growing up, everybody was pretty much homegrown. When I was
Yep.
getting in trouble as a juvenile, some of these cops lived in the neighborhoods. Now, I could speak. Last time I was arrested was in, November of 2008. Of course, when I, going into my story, I'm not going to get into all that, but the cops that came and got me from the Sacramento County Jail to extradite me back to Santa Clara County, they were from Sacramento, but they were San Jose PD. You know what I mean? And then just to goes to show you that you got walks of life from all over the place. San Jose now is just a very attractive mecca. It's the heart of Silicon Valley. You know what I mean? It's growing in population. It's over 1 million people, and it's hard when you have that many people and you're short law enforcement. And with everything that's going on, I'm not saying that they're going to cut corners, but you can't always catch everything when you
No,
do
you
these
can't.
when you count these background checks. And a wise old CDC officer told me when I was in transition, he just said, he always told me, he goes, something, Toko, you and I are not too far apart. And I just kind of looked at him and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get some type of sermon. And he just says, the difference between me and you, Toko, is you got caught and I didn't.
Yeah, I've heard that from doctors before. You know what I mean? They say, like, you know
He's
what?
like and those were the ones that always showed me, I can't speak for anybody else, the ones that actually lived in the hoods or were around that or seen people getting killed or they understood the politics to a certain extent. They always treated me with dignity and respect. You know what I mean? And I
So
never gave them a bad time. But that's
you
off
know
the
what? You know
subject.
what?
But it's just you know
You know what I was thinking, right? Over the last like 2 years, 3 years, right? There's been a lot of controversy in this country. from you know,
Mhm.
like from politicians and so forth. We can start there, but we're not going to go into politics.
No.
But the COVID scene drew a lot of attention away from all the stuff that was going on out there in the streets, and it focused more on COVID, which was a prime time for people to take advantage of it. If you really
Sure.
think about it, man,
Yeah.
if I was in law enforcement and I was corrupt, right, you got to seize the opportunity when it's there. And so when I think about it, man, as far as if I was where there's the world's all going in a different direction. You got the pandemic going on. There's less scrutiny. There's more things going on. I think that could have been played a huge role in this if you really think about it, man. The pandemic.
Yeah. I think just like with September 11th,
Yeah,
case in point, that saved you and Rojo, took the shine off of that, and the feds, the country gets attacked, something major catastrophe happens, it's always going to take precedent on what little is being done, if anything, that's being done in the urban areas or in society, period. And I don't want to get on this high horse that, one race or one, you know what I mean? I know people from all walks of life, from tech people all the way down to people that are homeless that suffer the consequences of what politics does to this country. You know what I mean? And then when the pandemic happened, you know, you just add to people's basket baskets of annoyance, and and baskets of problems. You know what I mean? And the last couple of years have been very, very, very trying. You know what I mean? So I count my blessings, man. And if my biggest problem is whatever I got going on today, then you know what, I got nothing to bitch and complain about. You know what I mean? So
you,
it keeps
you know what?
me grateful.
I did some research the other day, right? And I was looking into the pandemic. Since we're on the pandemic, we'll go back to this thing with the San Jose PD, right? And this is what people don't realize: the pandemic in 2020, they seen an increase in murders and non-suicidal gun killings, right? Up by 25% in 2020, right?
Why is that? Why is that?
Okay, look,
Why do you
wait,
think
wait.
that is?
But 2021, it still went up. Now the things were like this. Okay, when you think about percentages, right? You think maybe 2%, 1%, maybe to go up on anything. High would be 7%. You'd consider that a high percentage increase, right? Not no 25%. That's a quarter of what you had the year before. That's high, bro. Um, I think at that time, I think there was a lot of stress and pressure put on a lot of people. You know what I'm
There you
saying?
go. Yeah.
And I think in addition, you had a lot of people who were driving up on that EDD program, getting all that money out there, high side and shining and so forth, man. And people were hungry. They're trying to eat, man. And you're going to
Yeah.
be exposed and exploited, man. A lot of people lost work. A lot of businesses went under, right? So, but there was less. I don't like to use this word. There was less where they take their own. You know what I'm saying? Except for in 10 to 14-year-old boys, there was an increase, which is sad, man. See, that's the thing that they didn't realize when they put this pandemic together out there is how it was going to affect people's mental health, how it was going to affect the home relationships. A lot of these kids need to be in school. You know what I'm saying? Whatever problems they may be going through, this may be their outlet. You know what I'm saying? So that was an increase. As far as the violence, I can't call it, bro. I mean, we can give our opinion, our perspective, but there's no factual data or basis to go upon. What do you think?
I just think I can only speak from my experience. I know from the things that I seen, and when I was out in Hawaii, and then when I came out here to the Southwest, you see people were just, it was just, you had no release. Everything was shut down. You're probably stressing at home. People were driving faster. There was more roadway, even though there was less people on the road. And as far as the shooting goes, you know, violence breeds violence. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like you said, where is your next meal going to come from? Whatever people's personal problems were. Imagine you're in a bad relationship. Imagine you're going through a custody battle. Imagine you're in the midst of a divorce, or you're at the beginning of a relationship. Then the pandemic happens and fucking life stops as we know it. And we're all at different areas of life, right? Some good. Some people are just, trying to get married, and other people are trying to separate. Well, now you're stuck. And now you got to hold on. In your mind, it's over, but it's not. And then you got to deal with all the bullshit, and then all the politics that happen, and then the George Floyd situation, then the abuses of authority, and then all the killings and the increases in violence. And people are just gonna, you know what I mean? Just fuck it. I ain't gonna take this shit no more. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And they let their emotions take over. And I'm not getting on my high horse because that was my problem. You know what I mean? I'm an emotional dude. I've held it in for a lot. You know what I mean? I'm just now coming to terms with a lot of things. You know,
Yeah,
I
dude.
acted on emotion. I act on emotion, research and investigation. And, you know, Flacco talked about it when somebody asked him, do guys that are involved in that lifestyle, do they ever love? Am I wasting my time? A lot of girls would say, or guys, talk, depending on who you're talking to. And the answer is yeah. But you got to break through those layers. Much like a woman who's had her heart broken, it's the same damn difference. We're just
Bingo.
men, and we're just men, and there's layers that you have to peel back. So as much patience as ladies want, you know, oh, yeah, I came through a bad relationship, or you know, something happened to me, I was abused. I want to be with you, Flacco. But okay, if you're not given that same respect, how can you expect to give it back?
Yeah,
If you're not going to take a chance
we
on
all
me, you
got
know,
we all got layers to ourselves, man, and so forth.
exactly.
And you know what I've learned, man, like since we're on like different topics, right? This is a little exclusive about the cops, right? But I've seen the different acts of individuals throughout this YouTube genre stuff. You know what I mean? Whether they have a channel, whether they're a subscriber or whatnot, man. There's a lot of you see people's true characters come out. You see the
Yeah.
side of those who are a little more emotional, more raw, more real. You see those that are more conniving, more deceptive. And you can sit there and analyze, man, and observe everything that's going on, and really see how cutthroat the YouTube politics can be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
It's no
told so
secret.
somebody left me a message on ID on IG because you know I never show too much emotion. I treat people fairly. You know, YouTube Landia is YouTube Landia. Whether you hate me, whether you love me, you know, you don't have to sit down and look at it. You know what I mean? You could change the channel. That's my
Yeah,
theory on that. And that might be simple minded, but it's the truth. But for me, the biggest thing I don't want to say I have an issue with, but makes me raise my eyebrow is when people give their opinions, they're entitled to them, but it comes with a judgment. Oh, this is how I would have handled it. I wouldn't have debriefed, or I wouldn't have, you know, I would have killed the dude, or I would have did this. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Flacco knows this. Rojo knows this. Gunner knows this. Boxer knows this. When you're faced in a situation where it's life and death, or you have to make a fucking move either. I'm not talking about whacking someone from behind. I'm talking about head on. I did it twice in my career. It's not something I'm proud of, but it was the cost of business. You're scared out of your mind and you find out exactly who the fuck you are inside. You could have
yeah,
been the biggest, baddest dude or woman on the streets dealing drugs, whooping, popping shots off. But when you're in a cage, when you're in a cement block and it's time to do what you have to do, you're going to do it or it's going to get done to you. And people might not like it, but that's the way that it is. And for those that speak on it, it really hurts my feelings to sit there and say that, you know, they take little tidbits of our stories or little tidbits of what's going on and they just fucking judge.
yeah, bro.
You know what I mean?
I've been noticing that, right? Because I'm gonna bring up something, right? Okay, like for instance, you know, there's been like a person. I don't know if I sent you those messages. You know what I mean? They sent me some posted a comment. They tried to describe their they tried to cap it, so I think it was one individual. I'm able to know exactly who it was. They made some direct threats that were disrespectful, right? Okay. Another individual did make some, you know what I mean? And the funny thing I see about it, right, is this, right? Is these are threats. These ain't no disrespectful remarks. These are more threats, right? Those are serious allegations, right? So people are over here still accepting them, right? But yet they're trying to ostracize another individual for basing his opinion about him wanting to mess with other channels. And then they have a whole group that are against him. I'm not with that, to be honest with you. I've been looking at that and I'm thinking in my head, like, well, this dude right here, you fuck with straight up fucking tried to threaten me, and we all know we did. This person over here did directly threaten me. Was cracking.
Yeah.
You guys are all gonna ostracize this dude and talk shit. I don't get it, man. Some fucking straight up, bro. I'm not gonna disrespect nobody with my next remarks, so I'm gonna stop there. But I just don't get it, man. So it's okay when it happens to you, but when it happens to someone else, if they're not rocking with you 100% like the way you feel, you're gonna sit there and not acknowledge them. It doesn't make no sense, bro. And I'm just keeping it 100, bro. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
it. That's why
you
it's
know,
100% real talk with Flacco and how all this ties into the breaking news.
Yeah, because
is the respect. I believe the officer's name is I don't even want to say it because I don't want to be disrespectful to the family because I don't know it. But the man deserves. He's dead. He's gone. He cannot defend himself. Whatever reasons, if he had a problem, I don't know. If it was recreational use, we don't know. Or if the stress level of the police being having that job or whatever it is, we don't know the vices that these men and women who are law enforcement or work for the DA's office or public, everybody has their issues. And like Flacco said, man, sometimes things come to a head, and when they do, it's important for us right now to get all the facts. This is just breaking news.
exactly.
This is just an opinion. This is just third party information that's coming. It's factual about the officer who passed away, about burying him with honors and things like that, which you should do. That he's got that coming. You know what I mean? He's a police officer. Everything that comes out after someone dies, though, it's all speculation and it's hearsay. And as far as the other
Yeah,
officers too, they deserve their due process, just like any of the rest of us do when we're accused of something, because we don't know, and especially in law enforcement, you don't know if you approach somebody and they get pissed off and they see that you're coming up and they drop a dime. You know what I mean? Or they're trying to get out in front of the situation. Flacco, it happens in the life that we're in
oh
too.
yeah, bro,
People
still
people
does
mess up.
time.
You know what I mean? People mess up and they fuck around with the wrong person's daughter or old lady, and they panic and they try to get out in front of it, and all they do is do more damage to themselves, and they tie themselves to the situation even more. And the same thing goes for this. This is just to show you guys, fentanyl is no joke.
But
That's
no,
the
no
bottom
joke, bro.
line.
Straight
It's
up.
no joke. It affects everybody. Yeah, there's big money. Yeah, there's benefits to it. It makes you feel good. It's like anything else, but you don't know what your body can handle, and you're playing Russian roulette. You know, you might as well take your chances of getting a six shooter, putting a bullet in it. I mean, it's the same difference.
I,
Sooner
I
or
just
later, you're gonna pop that cap, and
I just discussed
it's
this.
unfortunate.
Sorry, sorry, I think we're done. My bad. I just
No, it's
discussed
good.
this in a previous video. I just did a short one about the deaths that are going on in prison system related to fentanyl, as well as in county jails. And what it is it's so easy to get this product up in there. 2 out of every 5 pills is considered a lethal dosage. So, say if you're in there and you've been sober for a while, but you have the dope fiend mentalities you want to use for that first time, you may not ever come back from it. And that's what's going on because they're so small, bro. I've seen them in front of me. They're like really tiny, bro. You know what I'm saying? Easy to conceal like a couple hundred, easily, and be able to get it up in there. It's that fucking dangerous, bro.
Yeah, it is. It is. So yeah, man. I mean, it's unfortunate. Now there's a family that's without a son. And now there's other people that are under suspicion, and as if law enforcement didn't need more black eyes, especially in California and the Bay Area. They're going to go over this with a fine tooth
If,
comb. You know what I
if
mean?
there's
If it turns out to be bad.
if there's rumblings, if there's something going on there, a lot of times, man, where there's smoke, there's a fire. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
So there,
yeah. Like I
to
said,
what
I
extent?
wouldn't put this information out if there wasn't some truth to it. Like I said, everything else, it's like I said again. The disclaimer: it's third party information. It's not for clout. This is just something that's appropriate for the channel because of recidivism, drug addiction. We talk about everything here. Okay. Yeah. Convict's perspective, the Rojo Room, everything else, but we just felt that it would be appropriate for this channel, especially like I told Flacco, it's probably, heaven sent that you're just talking about individuals that we relate to ODing inside the county jails and the prisons. And now it's affecting the people that put them in that places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the corruption's it goes deep.
Well, yeah.
Drugs and money make you do a lot of things, man.
In October of 2021, you had an officer out there in Folsom who was on leave. He was trying to file complaints about being hazed as an officer. He ends up dead. You know what I mean? Fentanyl addiction as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you can start drawing any type of conspiracy theories, but in the end game, we're not going to know what the truth is unless
Yeah.
someone comes forward and has some factual facts, then we'll know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
find
So
it
be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for that. Like I said, if you're in California, then I'm sure the news will break. On the local news tonight. or it'll be online, stuff like that. But it's definitely now that a couple of those things are more likely official, that the officer did die with fentanyl in the system, and like Flacco said, he heard, what I mean, that he was out partying with these guys, and now maybe these guys are tied into corruption. And like I said, it just, the pie don't need to get cut up so small, right? It's a domino effect. Well, like in Flacco said, what I mean, not to sound touche, but where there's smoke, there's fire. So right now it's looking like it's going to get a little smoky.
This is what gets me
And
though, brother. This is what no one's talking about. Nobody's talking about this. This is where I think there's some bullshit to this. Not this bullshit story you got. Bullshit related to this individual. No disrespect to the family. There was no mention by any law enforcement officers in any investigation that they found any type of drug use while they were there. What does that tell you? I mean, that's a red flag for me. And he was at a party the night before. So either fucking, think about it, bro. There's more to the story than what meets the eyes, because when they found them unconscious at that age, dead, of course they're going to research the immediate area to find out if there's anything cause of death. You're going to tell me that if he was on fentanyl, which I know how these addicts be using, bro, on that fentanyl stuff, it's no joke. You're going to tell me they wouldn't have found any proof at that moment that there was fentanyl use there? Because you're not going to pop a pill of fentanyl. You're just not going to do it. That's you're almost guaranteed to die.
What I have to say to that, man, it's like Sherlock Holmes says: you eliminate all other possibilities, and that which remains is the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's a diagnosis with this guy by exclusion. He has to go through the process. The autopsy ain't gonna lie. It's not like it was back in the 70s and 80s, man. When you go through the process of all that and the investigation happens, these other people aren't gonna lie. Hey, this is what caused his death. And then when it's in black and white, it gets forwarded, probably gets back to the department, and now, okay, we got to get out in front of this. And like Flacco said, guess what? Those investigators, internal affairs or the FBI or however they're going to do it, they're going to go back and they're going to backtrack and they're going to find out. And they're going to say exactly what Flacco said. You mean to tell me you guys didn't find anything? Who was the person that searched? Who was the person that did the welfare check? Who was the person that was there? And they're going to go through all of that stuff because the media,
you know what I'm saying,
is going to, yeah. You know what I mean? You're absolutely fucking right.
Did he drive himself to this party? Those are all the questions I want to know, man. Like, or was he dropped off? Because if they didn't find, if you're using that fentanyl, right, there's only one way for them to use it that I know of, which is they smoke it on the foil. There would have been some proof of it being there at that location. There had to have been. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if he would have been doing it at the party, he probably would have died faster. You're not going to die later. You're going to die immediately when the usage has gone too high. So those are the things I'm questioning. Like, what happened? Did they find anything? I mean, most people that OD, they OD behind closed doors. They get what they got to get, and then they go back to their little home. And Milpitas Police is a very good police department. They do their homework. You know what I'm saying? I will say that about them. They investigate and they go through every detail, and they don't care about San Jose PD.
Maybe the fentanyl thing came out through their investigation. Then
that's true.
It happened in their city, and
maybe they kept it.
These cops are, no pun intended when they say this, they're like regiments. What I mean? Hey, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? This is our city.
That's like with I'm gonna use the prime example, Pleasanton Police Department. They don't get along with Alameda Sheriff's Department. The reason why is because they're close to the county jail, right? And a few of the sheriffs have been arrested for DUI, and the Pleasanton Police Department did not want to give them a break. And these were like some barely DUIs, like 0.09, like, you know what I mean? Like, give them 15 minutes to sober up. You know what I'm saying? That's how a lot of these law enforcement agencies are. They don't like each other. Milpitas has never really cared for San Jose Police Department. I used to hear it out their mouths and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know that they do a very thorough job. And I know if it was going to be an SJPD officer, they're going to look into it. But at the end of the day, though, like you're right, though, what you said earlier, there's still that code of blue, regardless if they like each other or not. So those are the questions I'm having about this. Like, okay, if he had fentanyl in the system, how did he get there? How did he take it? I'm sure law enforcement are going to research and investigate when they find an officer dead. They don't know the reasons why. And he's only in his 20s. You're going to look for any type of signs or clue. You're not going to just leave it alone, especially if it's one of your own. Come on, man. And you're going to tell me, if they tell me that there's no fentanyl at all found, even in the garbage can, they're going to check for anything. They're going to look through everything. If there was nothing found, then it's a big red flag there. Big red flag, especially being at a party the night before with a bunch of other officers who are being accused of potentially running a criminal racket. So we can. I mean, this is kind of conspiracy. It's not being. I'm not trying to present any conspiracies. I'm just putting that out there. Like these are the questions I would have. Common sense. Like what's really going on here?
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be interesting. Whoever's going to be investigating this thing, man, they're probably going to get their top men and women on it because there's not going to be any room for error once
Yeah,
if this stuff comes to light, which I'm sure it is. If I'm finding out about it, I'm not the only one. If we know about it, there's somebody's leaking information, either, and again, it's strictly opinion, or why do people do that? Because they want the truth to come out. You only leak it. You only leak information when it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Is what the psychology and all those books that they made me read. You know what I mean? You do all that stuff because your conscience eats at you for a while. You know what I mean? And I'm sure right now a lot of people are chewing their nails a little bit, and other people probably don't have a conscience, and it's just going to open up a whole big can of worms. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, or how it gets hushed under the rug until a couple of years from now a major indictment happens, or so. Like again, I'm speculating, but usually that's the way it's done, right? You do all this investigation, it hits the news, then we don't have that information, we got to investigate. Then 9 months to a year later, boom, you know what I mean? They're hitting somebody's house, or hey, no wrongdoing has been done, and again, there's that big dust pile that gets swept under the rug again, the big blue wall, like Flacco was talking about.
definitely.
But like I said, with all the transparency laws, especially in California, and with the voting, with the people voted for, all this stuff, you don't need to make a bunch of noise anymore, because now it's the law that you got to turn over everything and be transparent with the public about what's going on, especially in the department that you're voting people in, and you're told that you need to follow them because they're law enforcement, and you need to trust them.
Yeah, most definitely.
And whoever lives in Santa Clara County pays those taxes, right? And that's where
Hold
those
them
tax
accountable,
dollars
bro.
go. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hold them
So
accountable. That's what people don't realize, man. This is what I'm gonna sit there and tell everybody out there, especially like with all this stuff going on in your local communities. If you're a registered voter, if you pay taxes, if you do all this stuff, they work for you. You don't work for them. You pay their salary. They work for you. So if there's anything that's being questioned or something that you don't like, get proactive, man. You know what I'm saying? Contact your local people that are pushing that plight, man. We need more people to speak out when we see things that are kind of questionable. You know what I mean? And contrary. Because we don't really have a lot of that within a lot of these Rasa communities. You know what I mean? If they do ascend to a position of political influence, they become corrupt. It happens time and time again, man. So we need to find more independent leaders. Yeah, that's the problem with organizing. That's the problem with organizing. You may have a fair and just cause that's worthy and people can stand behind, but when you start to organize it too big, as far as a platform, you have egos that get involved and you get money that gets involved, and that's where shit gets shaky.
Yeah.
Anyways, like we're trying to just do these premieres 40 minutes. Me and Toko are going to go live right after this, man. You have any questions, any input? Stay tuned for the live, man. We're out.